People, morning, Hannah. It is a very dark and ominous kind of time here in Trinidad and Tobago right now. We have some storm systems passing through. It is very cloudy. It is rainy. It is cool. Oh God, it's so nice. I can't complain. But anyway, normally you just catch me early in the morning with my bright morning sun on the morning dew. But this time, you're not getting all that nice action. So I might be a little dark. I'm emerging out of the shadows. But I am here and I am ready to chat. So sit down, relax, and let's kick off the show. Welcome to this new episode of Trini Trent TV, where we talk about the artists, the hits, the eras, the songs, and of course the albums that we love. And one of those albums is a true classic. I would say R&B classic, but honestly, it's a classic for all times. It is a really fantastic record. And I am talking about the Waiting to Exhale soundtrack. So in this episode of Trini Trent TV, what we're going to be doing is first talking about my story, how I first heard the Waiting to Exhale soundtrack and, my initial thoughts. Then we're going to jump into the impact that this record has had, not just on the music industry, but on the lives of so many people. And then we're going to go into my favorite tracks on the soundtrack. By that I mean awesome songs. I first heard the Waiting to Exhale soundtrack way back 25 years ago when it first came out. Back when I was just born. But, oh God, I'm joking, only know over 30. But I first heard the Waiting to Exhale soundtrack back in 1995. And I actually saw the movie before I heard the soundtrack. And I remember sitting down watching this movie and really enjoying it as a drama. To me, it was so funny, when that scene when Loretta Devine's character, Gloria, when she was reading down how much stuff she have, all the food that she have in the house. And then she wanted to know if Gregory Hines' character was watching her walk away. And then, of course, we had all of the funny scenes with the women interacting with the men and some of the sex scenes. Now, coming to think about it, I really should not have been watching that movie as a child. But say what? I enjoyed it. I didn't catch everything. And, that was what was going on. I didn't fully connect and understand everything I was seeing. I just knew that some of these scenes were funny. And even with the music, I really liked the songs. I really enjoyed the music. But at that young age, less than 10, at that young age, I didn't really grasp all of the different themes and all of the different messages within the music. But even then, I knew there was something deeper. I knew there was a deeper meaning that I was just missing as a child, but I knew it was there because I remember the heated conversations, the arguments that the women around me, the adult women around me would have. They were so passionate about this movie and they were really drawn in to the different stories that were being told. Even with the music, I remember people used to be humming these songs, the women, humming them, singing them. Anytime they would play on the radio, they'd turn it all the way up. It was clear that there was something really deep and powerful that they were connecting to in the material that I just couldn't get at that age. But as I got older, I began to understand it so much more. You see, what Waiting to Exhale did is that it gave women, especially Black women, a voice. It gave them the opportunity to have their stories told in a way that it had not been done, at least not to a great extent before. You see, Black women, especially in media and entertainment in America, have often been, just relegated and marginalized, pushed off to the side. Their characters, their stories weren't always told. They weren't given a lot of meaning. They were put in a lot of supportive roles. They were always like the maid or the best friend or the servant. Somebody there who's just around to help everybody learn how to dance. Help the white girl learn how to dance so she could go off and get her man. And then we don't really get to see the story of that Black woman. In many ways, Black women did not have the opportunity to stand center stage and in the middle of the spotlight and have their own narrative shared with the world. But in the 1990s, we started to see those layers being peeled back. We saw them being drawn back, the curtain opened wider so that more stories can be brought to the forefront. And this happened not just in the film, but also in the music. We got to see the stories and narratives of Black women being told in song. And we had a very special moment happening here with the Waiting to Exhale soundtrack. And Babyface actually spoke about it when he was on Instagram Live earlier this year, celebrating the 25th anniversary of the Waiting to Exhale soundtrack. He did a whole, I think it was like 90 minutes, close to 90 minutes, where he just sat on Instagram Live and went through every single song. And he said this about the soundtrack. I think it changed the lives of so many women around the world because for the first time, they didn't feel like they were alone. It's like their struggle was real and you could finally put a face on it. Pun intended. And you see, Babyface was the man who wrote and produced most of the music on the Waiting to Exhale soundtrack, except for the My Funny Valentine cover that Shaka Khan did. And he really made it a point that he really wanted to help Black women tell their stories. And I personally would like to take it even further in this conversation because I look back at Waiting to Exhale and I look at it as something that was really, really special. You see, it wasn't just the fact that we had a movie telling Black stories. These were stories that were crafted and put forward by Black people. The work of Waiting to Exhale was actually first put to paper by Terry McMillan. She's the writer behind the film. And then you go from that to having a Black director in the form of Forest Whitaker. I didn't even know Forest Whitaker directed this movie. I didn't even know he used to direct. But apparently he directed this movie here. This is a whole new learning experience for me doing research for this. But he directed the film. And then you had an all-Black leading cast. All of the leading characters were Black, and not just Black, but Black women. And then, of course, you had the performers on the soundtrack were all Black people and Black women. And then when you go to the music, it was put together, composed, written, and produced by a Black man, with the exception of the cover that I mentioned before. Yet, I don't think in many ways that Babyface went all the way. I don't think he went all the way Black. Like, I don't feel that we got all the way raw in the pain and the passion and the breakthrough and the healing of these women. Their stories were still in some ways, they were compromises that were being made because I felt that, at the end of the day, Waiting to Exhale, the soundtrack, it was still very much a pop record. And I felt that he got very close to the line with certain songs like Not Gonna Cry by Mary J. Blige and It Hurts Like Hell by Aretha Franklin, Why Does It Hurt So Bad by Whitney, songs I'll talk about soon. But I felt that he didn't really cross the line and go all the way there and punch it through. And as I said, it's because it's a pop record. And I got this idea from what he said about the score. He said, I wanted to make sure that it wasn't too urban because the women's stories were wider than that. Now, when I hear the word urban, I often think of the word Black because that's what it typically means in American media. Watching the sun coming in, I might turn to a Pikachu. I might start to glow just now. But, in many ways, I felt that, when you hear the word urban, you think Black in American media. So I feel like he didn't want the story to be too niche. And in that way, in order to do that, to make sure that the film resonated with the widest possible audience that he could get it to, he had to make sure that while scoring the film, because he also did the score for the film, he kept the themes very light. He didn't go too urban, too R&B, too funk, too hip hop. And then at the same time, within the soundtrack itself, I think that trickled over because there were moments where I felt that, ooh, if only Mary would have just dropped a certain word at this point or just let her voice, give you a little more distortion or let the voice crack here, it would already be like a whip. But I don't think that he allowed that to happen because he really wanted to make sure that it can still sell as a commercial release. And as I was sitting down and reflecting on all of the different albums that came out over the last couple of decades, albums that, sought to had the same intention to reach the same goal of telling the stories of Black women in a very true and honest way. I was thinking of different releases that, built on the legacy of A Waiting to Exhale and that were very connected to, similar themes. And one album that crossed my mind was something that we revisited very recently here on Trini Trent TV, and that is Beyonce's Lemonade. And I think that in many ways, Beyonce's Lemonade went further than what Waiting to Exhale did, or Watching the Sun, it coming. It went further than where Waiting to Exhale did, because Beyonce was a Black woman who was in charge of the music completely. So she made sure that the music in every single facet reflected her story. And throughout the entire narrative, it remained true to what she was feeling. And that was very different with Waiting to Exhale because it was a Black man who had crafted the music and Black women had to interpret his words. So I feel that in many ways, Lemonade was able to go further while building on the foundation of A Waiting to Exhale. It was able to give us a more raw feeling and a raw emotion because it matched what a Black woman wanted to say about herself rather than what a Black man was saying about Black women's experience. And then Black women had to then reinterpret. But yet this was still a very special full circle moment because, Babyface, when he was writing this music, he did it based on the words of a Black woman. I mean, it was Terry McMillan who laid the foundation for this film. And Forrest Whitaker, in a VH1 special in 1995, where they did like a behind the scenes, you see a Santa Glow, he did a behind the scenes on the movie. You know, he spoke to the fact that Babyface, while writing this music, he sat down and wrote to the scenes. So each song was relating to a different scene or a different mood that was shown in music. And he felt that, you know, it was a very important thing for Babyface to do because he really wanted to make sure that the music really captured what the film was about. And at the same time, you can see something really beautiful because what we see here are black men stepping in to support the story and the storytelling of black women. Black men in this way were in some ways like a supportive conduit. You know, they helped to provide a structure for the telling of these stories because you had a black man who directed the film, who made sure to get everything in a row, to get everything together. And then, of course, you had Babyface, ignore the car in the distance. You had Babyface helping to provide the words to the music, helping to produce and give fluidity and give sound and create the soundscape for these black women to come in and express their feelings in such an honest way. All right. I had to fix my camera. I had to fix that light because I was really starting to glow. I was looking like an anime character and I couldn't take it no more, but I fixed everything. I think I'm looking good. So let me continue. So now let's talk about awesome songs. We're talking about my favorite tracks on this record. Now the Waiting to Exhale soundtrack had 16 songs. It was very long. Listen, it was a trick. It was a trick. And I'm not going to lie, there was some little fluff and filler here and there. You know, it was a very long record. They had to have some kind of filler. But I managed to pick out my favorite 6. And you're not going to be surprised by the fact that, at least I don't think you should be surprised by the fact that most of these songs, if not all of them, actually all of them, were singles. And that's because these are the songs I knew best growing up, and these are the songs that resonated with me the most. The first awesome song is Whitney Houston's Waiting to Exhale. Now, when I first heard this song, I actually did not like it very much. Because, you see, we were just coming off of the Bodyguard era. The last time we had seen and heard Whitney was during the Bodyguard era of 92 to 94. And at that point in time, that was actually my first real exposure to American pop music in a very big way. That was one of the first movies I saw at the movie theater, cinema, as we say in Trinidad. It's one of the first movies I saw, and I knew a lot of those songs. And remember, these were big vocal performances. I'm Every Woman. You had songs like, who phone is that? Excuse me, earlier, even in the morning, I carry a piece. But so, you know, we were coming off of these big vocal performances, you know, like the I Will Always Love You, the I Have Nothing, the I'm Every Woman's. And I felt like I'm Every Woman's. Oh, Lord, it really early. But, you know, we were coming off of these big records, and I felt like, you know, Whitney just wasn't hitting me the same way that she had done before. And then, you know, I remember watching some of the live performances and, you know, she was pushing so much harder to hit notes that she used to be able to do like nothing. And I remember when she got to the big bridge, sometimes she would dodge the notes completely, or her voice seemed to be shaking like it was about to crack at any second. But as I got older, I found new meaning in the record, and I started to appreciate the warmth in her voice and just how she sang it with such grace, and as far as moving beyond the vocal gymnastics and actually trying to find meaning and depth and bring a different feeling to the music. And, you know, especially after she passed, this song became so, I don't know, it became something that was very reflective for me. As you listen to it, you feel almost as if Whitney is there with you, guiding through that moment of breakdown, guiding you through what you're going through and really walking with you through that pain and saying, listen, it will be okay. The second awesome song is Brandy, Sitting Up in My Room. I really like this one. This was like the fun song on the album for me. It was like a bop. You know, it was something to really enjoy. But at the same time, I felt that Brandy, this was the first time I really paid attention to Brandy as an artist. And the first time I paid attention to Brandy as a singer. You know, at that point in time, I didn't really know much about Brandy. I was big on Aaliyah. So when I discovered this song and I really got into it, I was like, oh, I really like this song. Who is this girl? And she sang it with such a maturity. It was something that I really admired. And, you know, funnily enough, Babyface in an interview with Singers Room in 2010 said he wrote this song while listening to a lot of Aaliyah's music. So come to think of it, that's probably why I liked it so much, because it reminded me in some ways of Aaliyah. The third awesome song is Mary J. Blige, Not Gonna Cry. I felt that Mary J., when I heard this song at first, I used to feel so uncomfortable. I felt it was kind of dark. It was foreboding. It was something that was You know, it was making me feel things I wasn't ready to feel. But that's the beauty of Mary J. Mary J has an ability to really bring hurt, bring pain, bring sorrow, bring anguish to a moment and pull you into the song and make you feel it with her. She somehow has this ability to make everything her story. And even though these weren't her words, she interpreted them in such a raw way. I mean, she's singing about, you know, being married to this man for 11 years and having his kids, which was not her reality at that time. But I felt that the way she sang it, you had to believe every word. And she really made me, even as a little boy, feel something. And as I've gotten older, listen. Every time a situation should fall apart, this is one of those songs you just have to go to. The next awesome song is actually one of my favorite records by Toni Braxton and one of my favorite R&B records ever. And that is Let It Flow. When I listen to this song, you know, it's so beautiful the way she sings it because, I mean, Toni Braxton has this really incredible voice that when you listen to it, you know you're listening to something truly magical. I mean, her voice is really special. That deep, dark, chocolatey kind of contralto that she has. But what I really love about it is how she sings it. You see, the message of the song is about what to do at the end of a relationship, you know, where Whitney Houston's Exhale is reflective, and it's helping you to deal with the feeling of it. And it's almost like if she's a mother speaking to you and saying it's going to be okay. She's that supportive friend. Toni Braxton is the type of friend to tell you, okay, you felt it. Now it's time to let it go. The fifth awesome song is Aretha Franklin, It Hurts Like Hell. This is one of those songs that really laid the foundation to why I like singing, why I admire singers, and I just love R&B and soul music. This was one of those first songs that I remember growing up that really made me aware of the power of what music can really do and how it can make you feel. You know, these words came up to me in my mind as I was sitting down putting this video together. And I was saying, you know, when I was little, I did not know what soul music was. But I knew who Aretha Franklin was. And I knew how she made me feel. Aretha Franklin really and truly was anointed beyond all words. She really was talented. And, you know, a testament to that is the fact that Babyface says she recorded this track in one take. You know, she did a second take, but he never used it. The version of the song that we hear on the soundtrack was sung once all the way through. And that is something so incredible, especially when you think about that bridge. Because Aretha Franklin is literally bellowing without overpowering you. She's allowing her voice to climb almost to a wail because she's in the pit of pain. And she wants you as a listener to feel the grief, to feel the sadness. And she does it in such a masterful way. And the final awesome song is one of my favorite ever. This is top 5 level here. This is top tier favorite right now. I'm talking about Why Does It Hurt So Bad by Whitney Houston. You know, I really love this song because 2 reasons. One, the live performance that she did at the 1996 MTV Movie Awards, where I felt Whitney was just, I can't even say rare form because Whitney was almost always in rare form, especially in the early parts of her career. But Whitney really did something special on that stage. You know, she came out pristine and nice, sat down on the stool in her nice little white outfit. But by the time she was finished singing, drenched in sweat, looking for she Whitney towel to dab everything down because Whitney just let everything out. She did it in the studio and she did it on stage. And you know, the second reason I love this song so much is the story behind it. You know, Babyface on Instagram Live earlier this year said that he wrote this song for Whitney way back in the I'm Your Baby Tonight era, but she didn't want to sing it because it wasn't her story. But by the time we got around to 1995, she was ready to sing it because it reflected her life. It's really special because we got, knowing that the dark time that she was going through in her life and her marriage and what she was going through with Bobby and of course her drug abuse and everything at that point in time in her life, I felt that this song, when you know that story, you find a deeper level of meaning in it. Thank you very much for watching this episode of Trini Trent TV. I know I changed color so many times. I went from looking like Trinidadian to looking Japanese. But you know what? You still love me anyway. And I love you too. Thank you very much for watching. Leave a comment and let me know what are your favorite songs on the Waiting to Exhale soundtrack. Ignore the truck driving in the background. Let me know what songs stood out to you. And let me know if you agree with my picks and my awesome songs. Oh, go on, I have a van pulling up outside my house. Let me go before it gets too noisy. And I'll check you next time here on Trini Trent TV. Later.